What is up, guys? Lou here again, and today we're going to continue talking about Halloween. Now, as I mentioned before, I really love this time of year, and I think the best way to celebrate it, I mean, aside from all the religious, rituals around it, is to watch horror movies. And today I'm gonna give you 13 movies to watch for this Halloween season. I've got a list here. I'm gonna read them out to you. Full disclosure, right now it's November 1st and I'm the only person here, and I'm going to be talking about horror movies. This was an excellent idea. Anyway, horror movies are an interesting thing. The objective is very straightforward: scare the crap out of your audience. But for some reason, some do it better than others. Today I'm going to give you 13 recommendations of movies to watch during this Halloween season to get you right into the spirit of Halloween. And first, we'll start off with the classics. This list isn't in any particular order. These are just movies I like to watch and rewatch, and they are, to me, some of the gems, really, of the horror genre. And if you disagree with some of my choices, let me know in the comment section down below. But first movie we've got up on the block here is The Exorcist. Yes, that's right. The Exorcist from 1973. This is, for me, the benchmark to which all other horror movies are measured against. It has a way of creeping you out further by not overtly showing the monsters, right? What they do is they put the creatures, the scary stuff, in the shadows, because subconsciously that is still what we fear. The things that we fear the most, or we think we fear the most, they lurk in the shadows. It also doesn't hurt that it's got iconic cinematography, just A++ work. And again, the scares, for the most part, except for the scenes where Linda Blair is puking out green pea soup, the scares are very subtle and they happen in the shadows. So they let your mind fill in the scary stuff, they don't overtly just spoon feed it to you. So next up, we have The Shining from 1980. Probably one of the best horror movies ever made. Directed by Stanley Kubrick, stars Jack Nicholson, and overall, technically great. The acting was great, the writing is great, and it's scary on a deeper level, not like jump out in your face scary, but like it makes you question your sanity, kind of crazy. And that's kind of, I think, the better kind of scary. That way it kind of sticks with you for much longer. There are obviously exceptions to this rule of mine, but for the most part, the subtler the scares, the better it is for me. I think the most terrifying part about the entire plotline is that it could really happen to anybody, because what we see isn't so much as a horror movie, but more like one guy going insane over the course of 190 minutes. The most terrifying aspect of it is that it could potentially happen to any of us. Next up, we have Nightmare on Elm Street. A lot of people think of this as like a slasher flick, right? But to me, really, Nightmare on Elm Street is like a creature flick, because slashers feature things that you can kill, like flesh and blood. But Freddy Krueger exists beyond our physical realm, and as such, he's more of a creature than he is kind of like Jason. He's not really a person, he's not really a madman, he is literally some form of evil incarnate. And I think this is one of the best creature features. Fun fact also, Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984 is like the first feature film that Johnny Depp was in. If it weren't for this movie, we wouldn't have Johnny Depp, and you ladies wouldn't have someone to swoon over. And I think the most effective part about Nightmare on Elm Street makes you afraid of going to sleep. I think with any horror film, they take some mundane activity like sleeping or eating or swimming, and if they manage to make that one mundane thing terrifying to the audience, then I think they've succeeded. And Nightmare on Elm Street definitely succeeds at this. Next up is The Thing from 1982. Really my first exposure to the realm of sci-fi horror. I love how it's barely explained how the creature came to be, where it's from, what its intentions are, and the fact that it occurs at the North Pole, where the entire cast is just cut off from the rest of the world. It really gives a sense that there is no hope, and it really amps up the scare level of the entire movie. Next up is Blair Witch, the original Blair Witch Project from 1999. The Blair Witch Project is a very commendable movie, not just because it is actually pretty unnerving to watch all on its own, but that it pioneered two things. first the horror subgenre of the found footage film, because that's how it was marketed. Like, we found this footage out in the forest and we're here to screen it for you. Second is that I think it made vlogging or talking into a camera, first person view kind of things, much more acceptable to the mainstream. I mean, it was a long time coming. This is 1999, mind you, but I think the sense that you could talk into a camera and turn that into a film or into some form of entertainment was, I think, pioneered by the Blair Witch Project. Last movie for my classics list here, and I'm saving this for last because I really wasn't sure whether I should put it on here or not, is the movie Hellraiser, 1987, and the whole Cenobite thing, the whole BDSM kind of look and the torture hell dimensions that they represent. Very, very mind-rending stuff. It's not something a person of the faint of heart should watch. This is definitely something that is gory, but I think it's also kind of pioneered that level of realism. Like, yes, it is a surreal kind of environment and a surreal look. They're not meant to look like they've evolved into this horrible creature, but rather they were designed, or that they were specifically manipulated to look horrible. And I think a lot of other movies were able to draw from this energy, where they decided that creatures need not really be just like werewolves or swamp monsters or zombies or mummies, but that they could also be these demons that look just out of this world, you know? And I think what really upped the ante for me is the fact that it's a gruesome movie. It's a gruesome film, and the supernatural aspect to it just lent more to its scariness. And now we are up to our more modern or recent movies. I'll go through these real quickly because honestly, my opinions of these movies aren't really fully formed yet. I know they're good, and I know they either scared the hell out of me, or mind me, or made me question like some things, like what the is just going on, you know? I want to present them just as recommendations, so that you go out and watch them and we can have a conversation about them. First up, and I think really the most WTF movie of this entire list, is something called The Witch. Released in 2015, story about a couple that moves out from their farming village to start their own farm near the edge of a forest. Creepy things start to happen, and WTF, the whole time I was watching this movie, is just like, what the, by the end, you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? Second movie is Hush, and this movie is intense for me. It puts you in the shoes of a person who has a disability. In this case, the main character, or the person we follow, is hearing impaired. Now, I don't know about you, but audio cues to me are some of the most important things. Audio is one of the most important things whenever I watch a horror flick. The fact that she's hearing impaired also means we, the viewer, at some points in the film, can't hear a shit. It just ups the terrifying factor more, that you don't know what's coming around the corner because you can't hear anything, you know? And the whole time, especially during the more action-y sequences, you're just like, fuck, what? God damn it, hurry up! So it's a very tense film. Next movie is Lights Out. Now, Lights Out is an interesting thing. It started out as a trailer, or as a short film that was done on YouTube. And apparently, it gained enough traction, or enough people got into it, that studio execs were like, you know what, fuck it, let's make a whole movie out of this. And for the most part, the movie is B grade. Storyline is B grade, dialogue is B grade, character interactions, the characters themselves, they're B grade. But what really sends it up over the edge is the technical aspect of the film. The monster is pretty terrifying. Definitely a thumbs up for that movie, even though everything else about it is very B grade or B movie stuff. It'll have you face palming hard because sometimes the characters' reactions are so stupid and so predictable. So yeah, watch that. Next one is Don't Breathe, 2016. Okay, how do you describe Don't Breathe? It is, I think, an indictment of humanity as a species. No matter where you look, no matter from whose angle, whose side you take, bottom line is we are all monsters. Even the good guys are bad people. Even the victim is a terrible human being too. Next up, we have The Conjuring from 2013, and all I've got to say about that is that the Warrens may be self-confessed con artists, but this movie is still hugely entertaining, and one scene really stands out to me, and that's the clap scene. If you haven't seen this movie, watch it. Just wait for a clap thing. Okay, if you have seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Next is Sinister from 2012, and Sinister kind of snuck up on me. I didn't really pay any attention to it. The trailer looked blah, but when I did manage to watch it, it was honestly one of the more unnerving experiences of 2012. It was equal parts gruesome and scary, and Ethan Hawke, very, very convincing performance. The ending's a little bit convoluted, but overall, good movie. Good. Next movie, and the last movie, the 13th movie on this list, is 1408 from 2007. It stars John Cusack and Sam Jackson, and honestly, it's one of the more mind-fucking movies on this list. The scares are very overt. Like literally you can see people slitting their throats, jumping out windows, blah blah blah. But overall, just the way the cinematography of it, the way it's written, it all leads for a very, very tense movie to watch. I don't really have any other words for it. Just that it's a movie that you really have to pay attention to, or else you're gonna get lost. It's equal parts creature feature, really, and human drama, and it works very well together. Those are the 13 movies I recommend you watching for this Halloween. I'd like to throw out an extra 4 movies, and these aren't necessarily good Halloween movies in so much as that they are fun horror genre movies to watch. First of all, Cabin in the Woods from 2012. It's a movie by Joss Whedon, stars Thor, but the point is, it's a massive deconstruction of the entire horror genre, and I think really just one of the funnest horror movies to watch of recent time. I mean, it's not really purely horror. It's partially horror, comedy, and action, but you get to see all of the horror creatures, all the creatures from all of the different movies show up at some point in this movie. Next up is Shaun of the Dead. Now, Shaun of the Dead isn't really purely a horror movie. It is a zombie movie, and it is a comedy, but it stars just about the funniest guy in Hollywood right now, Simon Pegg. Again, it's a deconstruction of the zombie genre, and it's very self-aware also. Again, the characters are huge nerds, so they know all about zombie movies. Super fun movie to watch, if only for the comedy that the writing of Joe Wright and Simon Pegg brings to the table. Next one is 13 Ghosts. Now, 13 Ghosts is kind of like a guilty pleasure movie for me. It's not a particularly well-written movie. It's not particularly well directed either, but the lore that the movie creates, the world that it creates for itself, you know, with this whole zodiac, satanic zodiac or whatever, and with the 13 different ghosts making up the satanic zodiac, it really drew me in. It felt like the writers, the producers of the show, the creative team who created this universe really wanted to have all these nice little details in there, but as its IMDb rating will show, it's not a particularly good movie, and that's fine. Sometimes the worst movies are the most fun to watch, really. It also stars Tony Shalhoub, which is a funny choice, and Shannon Elizabeth for the eye candy. I'd like to recommend also one more movie. That movie is Trick or Treat from 2007. It's a good movie. It's not really a proper singular movie. It's more like a horror anthology consisting of, I think, 3 different stories, but they all intersect eventually. There's just something about Trick or Treat that really makes me want to crown it as the Halloween movie king. It's literally set during Halloween. Literally the only other movie I can think about that goes to that level of being the embodiment of Halloween is The Nightmare Before Christmas. So yeah, I think Trick or Treat is really the embodiment of a Halloween movie, and if there's only one movie you get to watch from this entire list, make it that movie. Let me know what you think about that list, and if you have any other movies that you can recommend, let me know in the comment section down below. Those are some of my favorite films. I rewatch those, if not during Halloween time, but at some other point during the year, but I rewatch those movies at least once every year. So yeah, that's it for today's episode. Thank you very much for tuning in, and again, happy Halloween. Stay safe, you guys. I will see you next time. Stay awesome.